This next one is the only one that is scripted. You agree together to an agenda. Now, a prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. That's true no matter what business you're in. There's no way that I'm going to buy any mortgage note information from you, nor should I, nor should you try to have me buy that, until you understand what that's going to do for me, how it fits in my portfolio, why I want to buy it, and some of those other questions. You can't prescribe that, Kevin, I think you should do this just because the guy next to me happened to do that. So in order to serve me and really charge the highest fees that you can, you need to do some evaluation about me, my goals, what I'm doing. One search engine strategy doesn't work the same as another one. Everybody doesn't decide to go and become a personal chef for the same way. A single mom that wants to work 1 day a week and build a $15,000 a year income is not the same as someone who's deciding to get out of the corporate world and replace a $200,000 a year income. They're not the same goals. Even though you're sharing the same information, it's shared differently with a different purpose and for a different outcome. So I cannot tell you what I do until I ask you some questions. But people get anxious. The absolute worst thing that you can hear on a sales call, and a lot of people see this as an opening, is tell me what you do. If you respond to that question, you have lost that opportunity to engage that person professionally. You absolutely must not ever, 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 ever respond to that with the answer, unless you've decided not to work with them at all. Then you can tell them briefly, flippantly what you do and be done with them. But if you want to serve them, this is where you can go to agree to an agenda. And these are steps that you can realize you've not gotten past in any call, whether it's a formal one that you've set up a formal one that you've set up, through the web, or just engaging. How many of you would like to, every event that you go to, these big events where a number of speakers are speaking, every event that you go to, you take home at least 5 figures in fees? Ladies and gentlemen, after the very first internet marketing event that I went to in my life, where I knew nothing about internet marketing, I just sold a business, found it on the web. After the first one, I have yet to go to an event, even just as an attendee, walking around, milling around, that I did not take home or receive from contacts there within the 7 days following a minimum of 5 figures in checks from people through just finding out what I could do to help them and charging them for it. And I served them greatly. And this is going way back to 2003 when I first got into this business. You can do the same if you know what your offer is, and you know when you get into an actual sales call, and then you can know what step you're in. So if someone says, "Hey, what do you do?" You're right here. You need to agree to an agenda. This is the only one that's scripted. Everything else after this, I'll teach you the heart of it, and you can follow it. But this is scripted. Here's the script. Let's do this. You can just share with them, let's do this. You just want to open it up in some way. Today I want to do the following. It doesn't matter how you open it up. But you want to take this sales call in a number of steps. Number one, I'm going to ask you a number of questions about what it is you do so I can serve you. So that lets them know you're not going to be talking about yourself for a bit, but it's for their best interest. Secondly, I'm going to tell you what it is we do, what we've got going on. You can word this in any way, but secondly, I'm going to tell you exactly what we do. And you can do this somewhat casually, but this order is very important. I'm also going to give you a chance to ask any questions you want before we finish up. This completely kind of takes away from them the premise that they're going to ask questions all the way through, but it gives them that sense of empowerment back that, yes, this person is going to allow me to ask questions. So when you address this up front, they're not wondering, gosh, I got a question, am I going to be able to address it? You've already addressed it up front. And finally, when we're through, all I want to ask you is if this makes sense or not. Is that fair? A slight distinction on the final one would be, I want to ask you if this works for you or not. what you're casually alluding to here, but very, very solidly implanting in these people's mind, is that two things. One, you're going to ask for a decision. Either yes or no is acceptable. There's a very big distinction here, just so that you can recognize it, between saying, I'm going to ask whether this will work for you. Is that fair? You want to say, will this work for you or not? You want to implant the fact that saying that this is not a good thing is okay, but that empowers you even more strongly to ask for a decision, because they may, listen to this, in 90% of the sales calls that myself, any of my employees, any of my clients happen, no is 95% don't get no's. Now they may fail to get yeses. And that's where therein lies the rub of how to make money.